fully appreciate the horrific attack by Hamas against innocent people of Israel, I ask you also to understand that right now there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of innocent men, women, and children in Gaza who have lost their homes. They've been thrown out of their homes. They have no food, they have no water, they have no fuel. And I remind my colleagues that half of those people are children. Half of the people in Gaza are children. So yes, we are united in doing everything we can to destroy Hamas and their terrorism. But I implore you, do not take Hamas's inhumanity and brutality and terrorism against children who are 3 or 5 years old. I ask you to think for a moment. Think about it. I have a state, represent the state of Vermont, 630,000 people. 1 million people, most of them are poor. They got nothing to begin with. Before this whole business, Gaza was one of the most desperately poor places in the world. Youth unemployment, 75%. Many of their people dependent on the UN for basic survival. So what I'm asking people to take a look at is to understand what our country is about. And what our country must not be involved in is making the horrific and miserable situation in Gaza even worse. Many of the families, and again, these are people thrown out of their homes. They don't know where they're going. They don't know who will accept them. They don't know if they're ever going back to their homes. And they're poor to begin with. And do we really want to deny those people aid from the UN and other agencies to feed the children, to provide water for them? Is that really what we are about? So, of course, it goes without saying that we have got to do everything that we can to make sure that not one nickel goes to the murderous Hamas organization. But at the same time, we have got to stand with the innocent women and children in Palestine who are suffering today and are facing an almost unprecedented modern humanitarian disaster.
That is a war crime under the Fourth Geneva Convention. They are raining down thousands of the most sophisticated missiles known to humanity onto the most densely populated area in the world.
Most Palestinians want nothing but to live peacefully in a free Palestine. For 75 years now, Palestine has been under brutal occupation. The State of Israel was founded on Palestinian land in 1948, when tens of thousands of Palestinians fleeing violence sought refuge in Gaza as their towns and villages were ethnically cleansed. Palestinians call this the Nakba, meaning catastrophe. About 80% of people in Gaza are refugees or descendants from the Nakba. While I am by all means condemning the attacks by Hamas on the Israeli people, I am also condemning the violence Israel is and has been inflicting on Palestinians since 1948. And I stand with the Palestinian people for their right to self-determination.
What is happening right now in Gaza is not okay. It is not okay that the United States is supporting Israel in genocide. That is what's happening. And by every single one of us being quiet, it's going to be allowed to happen. We have to stop what we're doing. We have to call our congressmen, call our senators, call the president. Let them know that as Americans, we are not okay with what is happening.
And we stand with the Palestinians, and we stand with Arabs. And they try and change the narrative because you own the narrative, see? This is our problem.
We're not fed accurate information. When I first investigated the Israeli-Palestinian conflict from an unbiased perspective, I suddenly realized how many loose ends there were, and logical inconsistencies that I never confronted until then. And it was when I discovered these loose ends to the Zionist narrative did I fully realize how much I had been deceived throughout my life.
If you support Palestine, that means you don't support or accept a 75-year occupation and ethnic cleansing of Palestinian people. If you support Palestine, that means you don't accept or support the violent ways that Israeli settlers took over Palestinian homes. If you support Palestine, that means you don't accept caging in over 2 million people in a small strip of land, Gaza, and creating the world's largest concentration camp and open-air prison.
If you heard me, if you really heard me, you would quit your channel. Just like your ambassador, I don't know who did. Some humanity. The U.S. gave the okay for Israel. Carte blanche to kill all those Palestinians. This massacre, we were sleeping here today. We listened to the bombs. I, in my grown age, was scared.